All right, welcome back. We are going to talk about fractions today. In third grade, you learn a lot about fractions. So there are lots of things that we need to talk about. So we're going to go really quickly through a lot of things. So you might want to watch this video twice because I'm going to go really fast because there's just so much to cover with fractions. Okay? So first, let's start with what fractions look like. These numbers up here are what fractions, what they look like. It's a number, and then it has like a line through it, and then another number, right? So let's talk about what those two numbers mean. The numerator is the top number. So in these examples, all of the ones are the top numbers. So those are the numerators. And the top number represents the part of the whole, okay? And we'll talk a little bit more about that, but you do need to remember that the numerator is the top number and it represents the part. You might want to write this down. The bottom number is called the denominator. So in 1/3, 3 is the denominator. In 1/4, 4 is the denominator. So it's the bottom number and it represents the whole. So let me show you an example of 1/4. This is 1/4. The top number represents the part, like the part that is shaded, right? That's the top number. And the bottom number represents the whole, like to make one whole circle, how many pieces are there? In this example, there are 4. Out of the whole circle, there are 4 of them, and only one of them is shaded. So you would say that is 1/4. 1/4. Okay? All right, now let's go through some examples. Numerator in this example is what? The numerator is, hopefully you said 1, because the numerator is the top number, remember? So the numerator is 1. All right, what about the denominator? In this example, the denominator is, hopefully you said 3, because 3 is the bottom number and the denominator is the bottom number, which represents the whole. All right. If we look at this fraction, it says 4/4, and 4/4 actually equals a whole number. And let me explain what I mean by that. I'm just going to draw a picture so that you can see if there are 4 pieces and 4 of them are shaded, how many circles are shaded? 1 circle. So this is important. Anytime the top number and the bottom number are the same, it's going to equal 1. So 4/4 equals 1. 3/3 equals 1. 8/8 equals 1. 100/100 equals 1. As long as the top number and the bottom number are the same, it's going to equal 1. So that is something that you are going to need to remember. This is a little bit trickier. This also equals a whole number, but it actually equals 3. Let me draw a picture to help you see that. So the bottom number represents the whole. So if you have a circle like this, that is 1 piece and it equals the whole circle. So if you have 3 of them filled in, 1, 2, 3, then you have 3 circles, which is why it equals 3. So 3/1 equals 3. 4/1 equals 4. 5/1 equals 5. Anytime the bottom number is 1, the answer is going to be whatever the top number is. And you can think about it like this. What is 3 divided by 1? It's 3. That's what that means, 3 divided by 1. So I'm going to just clear this real quick, and I'm just going to show you another example. You might see something that looks like this. What's 6/3? It's the same thing as 6 divided by 3, which is 2. So totally unrelated to this, 6/3 equals 2. That's just something bonus that is important to know as well. Okay? All right. I know we're going really fast, but we've got a lot to talk about with fractions. So now we're going to move on to number lines. You're going to fill in the blank. When I talk about number lines, I like to think about number lines as like jumping from step to step. So let me explain what I mean. Like if I hop from this to this, okay, this is not working. Hold on. All right, if I jump from this to this, that's 1. From this to this, that's 2, 3, 4. I always make those jumps. Even I'm a teacher and I have learned about fractions a long time ago. I still do this every time just to make sure that I don't make any mistakes.
I do the hops. How many hops there are? 1, 2, 3, 4 is what the bottom number is going to be. So this is 1/4, 2/4, 3/4. Okay. And 1 is also the same thing as 4/4, what we just learned, right? So it equals 1, but it also equals 4/4. So that's how you figure out what the numbers are. So you should be able to know what this represents, even if there were no numbers on the number line, except for 0 and 1. Okay, so let's go to the next one and see if you can figure out this one. This one's kind of easy because it has the, it already has 1/5, so you know that this is going to be 2/5, and that's 3/5, and that's 4/5. But even if you didn't have those numbers there, if you didn't have any of the fractions, you would just do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you would know that the bottom number is 5. Okay, this next one that we're going to do, you are going to have to figure out what goes in those blanks. So pause this video, see if you can figure it out, and then I will show you the answer. All right, hopefully you did 1, 2, 3, 4, which means the bottom number is 4. Bottom number is 4, bottom number is 4, which means this is 1/4, 2/4, 3/4. 1/4, 2/4, 3/4. All right. And we're gonna keep moving along. All right, if you look at a fraction, you have to know which part of the fraction is shaded. So you look and you always do part over whole. You might want to write that down if you don't already know that. Part over whole. We talked about that at the beginning, right? With the numerator and the denominator. The numerator represents the part that's shaded. How many parts are shaded? 1. And the bottom number is the denominator, and it represents the whole. How many pieces are in the whole circle? 1, 2. So there's 2 circles, or 2 pieces in the circle, which means the part that's shaded is 1/2, which is 1/2. Okay, I do want to show you this. If you had a circle that looked like this, but it had a line through this, how many pieces, ignore the black, just look at the red, how many pieces are shaded? There are 1, 2, 3, 4, if you can't see that, and 2 of them are shaded. So 2 over 4 actually is the same thing as 1/2. If you have a pie that you cut in half, you only have 2 pieces of it and you eat 1 whole piece, it's the same amount as if you had the same pie and you cut it into 4 pieces and you ate 2 of them. You see how that would be the exact same thing? So 1/2 is the same thing as 2/4. Those are called equivalent fractions because they are the same. They are the same, which is what equivalent means. So are these fractions equivalent? Think about that pie example that I just talked about. If you have a pie, you cut it in 2 pieces and you eat 1 of them, or you have a pie and you cut it into 4 pieces and you eat 2 of them, they are going to be equivalent. They are the same. All right, what about this? What fraction is shaded? Part over whole. Think about it. There's 1 part that's shaded out of 3, so the fraction that's shaded is 1/3. 1/3. All right, and are these equivalent? Again, if you have a pie and you cut it into 3 pieces and you eat 1 of them, is it the same as if you cut it into 6 pieces and you eat 2 of them? Yes. So it actually is important to know that 1/3 is the same thing as 2/6. They actually equal the same thing. All right. What about these? Are these equivalent? This is 4/8 and 3/4. 4/8 and 3/4. These are not equivalent fractions. If you had that shaded, then they would be equivalent. Okay, because the only part that's not shaded is that and that. And those parts that are not shaded are the same, which means the parts that are shaded are the same. Okay, so the blue, if you look at the blue, that's not equivalent. But if you see the red that I drew in, then they become equivalent. Okay. Okie dokie, let's keep moving. All right, so now we have to figure out which ones are greater than, less than, or equal to. Which one is bigger? If the bottom number is the same, it's actually pretty easy because you just think about pi. right? I really like pie, so that's what I like to think about. So if I have a pie and I cut it into 6 pieces, if I eat 5 of them, or if I eat 3 of them, of the pieces, what is more? Well, obviously, if you eat 5 of them, that's going to be more. So you make the alligator mouth face like it's eating the bigger number. Okay, the alligator likes pie just as much as me, so he's going to eat the one that's bigger. Okay, so this is important to remember. If the bottom numbers are the same, then it's just whatever number on top is bigger is going to be the bigger fraction. But it is a little bit different if the bottom numbers are not the same. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But these ones, the bottom numbers are the same. So is 1/3 bigger or is 2/3 bigger? You have a pie and you cut it into 3 pieces. If you eat 1 piece and your sister eats 3, or your sister eats 2 pieces, your sister's going to eat more, right? 2 is bigger than 1. So that is bigger. You would do it like that. All right, now this is where it gets a little bit harder. If the bottom numbers are not the same, then you can't think about just whatever number is bigger. Okay, so I'm going to draw a picture and hopefully that will help you to see this. Whoops. Let me try that again. All right, so you have a circle like that. Wow, I can't draw thirds, that's hard. All right. All right, we'll try that. That doesn't look very good, but we'll pretend those are all even. Okay, so if you have 2 of these, 2/4. If you have 2 of these, think about that. Which pie, who's going to eat more pie? That one is bigger. 2/4 is bigger than 2/3 because if you have less pieces, which is what the bottom number represents, right? How many pieces? If you have less pieces, that means the pieces are going to be bigger. If you have a piece, or if you have a pie and you cut it into 2 pieces and somebody eats 1 of those pieces, that's a lot more than if you have the same pie and you cut it into 100 pieces and you only eat 1 piece, right? So if the top numbers are the same, your brain kind of does a trick, because if the top numbers are the same, then you look at the bottom number, and whatever fraction has the smaller bottom number is actually the bigger fraction. So you kind of have to think opposite. I'm going to say that one more time. If the top numbers, the numerators, are the same, then you look at the bottom numbers, the denominators, and whichever denominator is a smaller number is actually the bigger fraction. Okay, so that is kind of tricky. It does trick your brain. So you're going to want to write that down and you're going to want to remember that. All right, we really don't have very much time left. So we're going to look at this one real quick. Go ahead and pause this video and think about the trick that I just taught you. Pause the video. All right, the top numbers are the same. So we're going to look at the bottom numbers. Whatever bottom number is smaller is actually, whoops, a bigger number. So 5/6 is actually bigger than 5/8. Okay, and now we're going to take a look at some of these pieces. One thing that is important to remember with fractions is that they have to be equal pieces. When you say part over whole, and you're talking about them cut into different pieces, they have to be equal pieces. So can you cut this into 2 equal pieces? It would look something like this. Okay, you could cut it in different ways as well, but these are the most common. Can you cut this shape into 2 equal pieces? I'll tell you one thing, if you cut it like this, those aren't equal pieces. The top one is smaller, okay? So it is going to have to look like that. That's how you would cut that into 2 equal pieces. Okay, can you cut this into 2 equal pieces? Some of these answers look like this. All right, can you cut this into 4 equal pieces? Answers will look like this. See how if these really were pie pieces, slices of pie, they are actually the same size, right? You don't want your brother cutting a pie and giving you a tiny piece and he's keeping the big piece. You want to make sure that they are equal pieces. And if you cut this into 4 equal pieces, it would look something like this. See how all those pieces are equal? 6 pieces, it would look something like that. 8 pieces would look something like this. And another one, 8 pieces with a circle would look like that. And this is the last question, is this cut into 4 equal pieces? No, it is not cut into 4 equal pieces. You can see the top one, how it's rounded on the top. So that actually cuts off part of the piece of pie, you could say. So this third one right here, this piece is a lot bigger than this piece up here, right? So this is actually not cut into 3 or into 4 equal pieces. All right, I know this is a lot of information and this was a longer video, but there are so many things that you need to know about fractions, and hopefully this was helpful. There is a worksheet that I want you to go through and do. And if you have any questions about the worksheet, you can come back to this video because I've gone over everything that you need to know for the worksheet. Okay, so good luck with that, and let's master these fractions so that we can be ready for 4th grade.